Broadcasting from the high seas of the imagination. I hope you have your papers. We're heading to undiscovered countries over here. I just got my passport and I am ready to fly. Artist Journal, March 7th, 2023, broadcasting from the high seas of the imagination in Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. And just like Rare's dog here, the Boston Dynamics dog looking off into the great expanse, that sublime expanse in the great beyond there, we are doing the same thing on these invisible seas in our minds, my friends. So welcome back. And here is a wonderful pastiche, I think we would call this, of Caspar David Friedrich's Der Wanderer, because he is German, the Wanderer, dem Wanderer, der Wanderer, or dem Wanderer. We will see. And anyways, it's a beautiful treatment. Let's just quickly look at it before we see more details here. So you see, Rare's beautiful, what I want to call just kind of painterly approach here. Especially, I like these little kind of roughness, the rough details here. It's also kind of like, frankly, if I'm Procreate, I'm also talking to Rare and saying, hey, can we make some sort of deal? Because you are doing wonderful things with our program here. And we want to show what is possible. So look at all this great mark making here. And what I also love is the contrast. And this has been true for a lot of Rare's work, where he goes into these 19th century paintings and then he puts his bright yellow machine, and it creates a natural contrast with these kind of sepia created paintings, that have these sepia and brown underpaintings. And so it just pops, right? It has wonderful contrast here. So anyways, super cool. Let's take a look at the original. Couple of comments here as well from Rare. My latest painting, a commission agreed upon last November to a great friend, Debussy 100. Let's dive a little deeper. Based off of Caspar David Friedrich's Wanderer Above a Sea of Fog, painted in 1818. Of course, I replaced the anonymous hiker with our four-legged robot friend, changing the context slightly. So here's the original. And, based on the little cracks we see here in the oil painting, it actually looks like a remarkably small painting for Caspar David Friedrich, because I have been in the National Art Museum here in Berlin, and I have seen enormous works by Caspar David Friedrich. I would have thought this would have been one of them, but again, based on the kind of the reflection of the cracked oil paint here, it doesn't look like an enormous painting, but I could be wrong. It's hard to tell. Anyway, Rare goes into detail here, and I always love, Rare is very good at communications, I would argue, PR. Public relations, a very important, component of being an artist. I mean, you're an entrepreneur when you're an artist, so you have to have PR. You have to have good communication. So Rare, one of the things that he does is he'll put his work in the context of a gallery. And so I assume this hasn't been printed out and made large. I assume he just put this on top and made it look, though it has. But it creates a great effect, doesn't it? And especially made so large. So anyways, let's just look at a little bit here. The piece was originally painted by Friedrich at the height of the Romantic movement in 1818. In a nutshell, it's about self-reflection and the direction we're all heading into life. To look upon bleak or positive, that is the viewer's perspective. And yeah, landscapes are rather difficult for me to paint, no idea, since it's just color next to color, but I feel that I was able to capture some of what Friedrich was able to masterfully capture, the sublime. Okay, so anyway, super cool work by Rare. He put it on super rare, but of course he sent it to Debussy 100. So very, very cool, and you can read all the details here in his post, and he's at Where's Rare on Twitter. We have a new Twitter Spaces. Of course, we're going every Wednesday here at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This time we're going to talk about curation. It hasn't gotten a ton of traction here, so it might be a small Spaces, but take that as an opportunity to come hang out. And, it's back to PR, because if you're making your masterpieces in seclusion, but you're not well-versed in speaking in public speaking, that could really set you back if finally the world goes, we love your work, but then you come out to talk and you have zero practice. So not only is this an opportunity to, share your thoughts on curation, this is an opportunity to speak, and with a very, very friendly crowd. And so try that, and who knows, maybe some of these get turned into shorts that go out on TikTok and wherever else, YouTube shorts and everything, and those things get pushed pretty hard, as we saw with Gogolitis. Like I asked Gogolitis if I could put his work on a quote of an audio quote that he had, and that got like 875 views on TikTok. So people who probably have never been exposed to Gogolitis, right? So how cool is that? So that's another opportunity of showing up to these things. So that is tomorrow. So come join us, same place, same time. Interesting comments yesterday. Ed Marola. So we're discussing this whole curation, as we were just mentioning the spaces there, and this whole idea of one of ones and object one and foundation worlds and this disruption. Curation seems to be kind of a bit of one of the big topics of the moment here. So Ed replied, Ed Marola, who is one of the people that had minted his first work on Foundation that we saw yesterday. We saw one by GloomTube, one by Ed Marola, and of course Sabato's minted on Ethereum before, but nevertheless Sabato minted a piece that went for quite a bit. Anyway, if maybe you've seen that show, you can watch that if you want to see those, but here's the response from Ed. So about the multi-chain thing, might have to do with the Foundation worlds and Object One. So some, I don't want to say total confirmation, but some confirmation. I mean, it might have something to do with that. Both platforms seem to be heading in opposite directions. I love Tezos community and have no intention of leaving, as do I. And Tezos is, just from a purely business point of view, Tezos is wonderful because it's a way of selling art for cheap. Again, you put out an edition of 50 at 3 Tezos each, you bring in $200. That's great. That's fabulous. You can do that a couple of times a week. For now, okay, so anyways, back to Ed. I love Tezos community and have no intention of leaving. For now, I'll focus on one-of-one multi-chain and cheap editions at the Tezos party. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I've been doing, and I think it's a wonderful place to be. And at the end of the day, as I've always said here, I am not a tribal when it comes to blockchains, So it's sort of like multi-chain. Put it this way, I'm pro-artist, and empowering the artists. So you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. So if this is a kind of a opportunity to kind of branch out and, spread yourself over, and there are different collectors on Ethereum and Tezos, and that's why I always say multi-chain, multimedia, multi-platform, because you're going to get different collectors who are doing the physicals. If you're sending this stuff out on Instagram rather than Twitter, you're also going to get different kinds of collectors, and often those are more physical-oriented collectors. So maybe more contemporary art world type people than NFT digital art people. So I'm completely about, there's no reason to ignore these other markets as an artist. So I think you're doing absolutely the right thing, Ed. And thank you everybody else for the comments. Libro, that piece by Klaus is superb. Nice seeing this kind of work making sales on Foundation, and that was sort of an abstract glitch work with some cool music. Agreed, Libro. And Skomra had a reply to the nearest neighbor, Rada's technique for creating large versions of pixel art that can be made unlimitedly big, right, from a tiny 6x6 pixel work. It's using nearest neighbor, so Skomra had something to say about that. Nearest neighbor is important to me too, even with my AI works. It helps add a digital grain and make some too smooth AI outputs more digital. So that's interesting. So not just for pixel art, but I leave it as my default, actually, nearest neighbor, ever since I moved it for the 8-bit nature series, because I made them, like 4,000 pixels by 4,000 pixels to print out nice and large. Yeah, I leave it as my default now, nearest neighbor. So again, that is a Photoshop option for transform and image size. So anyways, he likes it too, but interestingly, for the grain and texture that it creates, kind of a digital texture. Very interesting. Thanks for having one of my works on the show, though they are minted on Manifold. I show those pink We Are Satoshi works on Foundation as one of ones, at least so far. Great show. So again, multi-chain here. Very smart. And thank you everybody else for the comments. Austin, Vito, Nomad Potato, Daily Dose of Pocobelli, and Joni B. That is great. I have finally arrived, ladies and gentlemen. I have arrived. I am on People of Tezos. And so anyways, very fun. I don't think I've ever done a portrait in my life, a self-portrait in my life. For me, a self-portrait is doing like a screenshot of the news in my sort of strange imagination over here. I've never really seen the point. I mean, which makes me probably a pretty unusual artist, but here I was obligated, so it was actually kind of fun. And so I put my kind of pixel art sketchbook techniques that I've been playing with to the fore here and in action. And so here I am. So, and again, if you use nearest neighbor, you can just make this infinitely huge because these are like square kind of pixels here. So anyway, very cool. Thank you, people of Tezos, and we'll keep tabs on what they're up to on, because there's a whole bunch that were released. We looked at a few yesterday. I mean, Xerox's really stood out. That was a really cool work. Maybe a lot of you have seen this already. It kind of like both mystified me, confused me. So Claire Silver, a prominent person in the NFT art space, AI artist, and also, I'm not sure what else she does, but she's very prominent, one of the biggest accounts. I mean, as you can see here, 407,000 people have seen this tweet here. So let's look at the announcement. My new collection will premiere at the Louvre. My one of one, Love in the Fourth Turning, will exhibit at the Louvre. Both are with and thanks to Super Chief NFT. I've signed with William Morris Entertainment, I think that would be, WME, as their first AI artist. Will bring AI art to mainstream culture together. Variety magazine linked below. So this was, and we actually see, here's the work, actually, linked to the one of one that will be shown, available for bidding now, new collection exhibited and up for sale March 21st. So if we go to the press release here, so first of all, here's the work, and there's already a 44 ETH offer on this. Now this mystified me, this whole Louvre thing, because I mean, Cy Twombly collaborated with the Louvre maybe 15 years ago or so, and I remember that being very controversial. And Cy Twombly, as most of you know, is an abstract artist who is, at the top of the contemporary art world for decades, in the kind of the top tier. And so that was extremely controversial. I believe he painted a sky on one of the room's ceilings. So the Louvre doesn't act kind of like it works with a lot of deliberation, and generally they telegraph things far ahead of time here. So I was very confused by this, but I dug deeper, and so let me show you what I found, and then you make of it what you will. So WME signs AI artist Claire Silver. This is the Variety link, whose latest collection will show at the Louvre, exclusive by Matt Donnelly. So we're going to go into a little bit of this. Claire Silver, an artist who collaborates with artificial intelligence, has signed for a representation with WME. The prolific Silver is known as an early adopter in crypto and NFT space. Her current medium is post-photography, or the manipulation of data to enhance digital images. In addition to signing with the Hollywood Power Agency, her work will be presented at legendary Paris museum, the Louvre, courtesy of Super Chief Gallery NFT, premiering March 21st. So this is, again, the Louvre generally telegraphs like way ahead of time. So all of a sudden, 2 weeks from now, this is going to be at the Louvre, is what we're being told here. Premiering March 21st, Super Chief is one of the first galleries in the world to exhibit AI artwork. And so Super Chief Gallery is working with the Louvre. And so I thought, Super Chief was doing pretty well, but I didn't realize they were working with the Louvre, as this seems to be suggesting. So then, and this to me looks like a press release that was sent to Variety is sort of my impression, and then maybe Matt Donnelly does a few edits on it, and that's how it kind of reads to me. Feel free to disagree, leave a comment here. You know, I'm not trying to lord my opinion on anyone. And here is another one, breaking AI artist Claire Silver's latest collection to premiere at the Louvre. And so NFT Now, saying the same thing, will debut at the Louvre. Claire Silver announced today that her newest collection will debut at the Louvre on March 21st. So I looked at, you know, so I did a search on, like, does the Louvre have anything to say about this? Surely there's some sort of press release or some kind of thing on their website. I didn't find anything. So I kept digging, okay? And again, the Louvre, right? So I kept digging, and I'll show you what I found. Paris Blockchain Week turns Carousel du Louvre into Palace of Web 3. So then I found this, and I was like, oh, well, maybe when are the dates on this? Maybe this is what they're referring to. Now, Carousel du Louvre is not the Louvre. Paris Blockchain Week, the leading international conference dedicated to professionals in blockchain and Web3 space, will be hosted at Carousel du Louvre, in the heart of Paris's historic palace and largest museum in the world, at the heart of the largest museum in the world, from March 20th to 24th. So then I think to myself, okay, well, maybe this is what they're referring to. So then I did a search. And okay, and first let me show you, okay, so Carousel du Louvre, what is it? Okay, the Carousel du Louvre is an underground shopping mall in Paris, France, managed by Unibail Rodamco. The name refers to two nearby sites, the Louvre Museum and the Place du Carrousel. The mall contains a famous skylight, La Pyramide Inversée, which plays an important role in the best-selling 2003 book, The Da Vinci Code. So, and it's got Apple Store, McDonald's, and which was controversial. This is what I'm saying. So McDonald's going into a mall near the Louvre is controversial. Okay, it was. So doing something very quick like this with the Louvre, I mean, again, these organizations like the Vatican and the Louvre, I would argue, and feel free to disagree with me, they see themselves as the guardians of, you know, of human culture. Okay, so they don't make kind of little like, oh, we're going to do this out of nowhere. These are extremely, I would argue, conservative institutions. Okay, so then we get a map here. This is artist reporter, emphasis on reporter today. So here's the Louvre in gray, as many of you will know who have been to the Louvre. This is the Palace of the Louvre. And then we see the Louvre Pyramid. So this is where you generally go in, and then you go downstairs, down an escalator, and then you go through security, and then you're in. Over here is the Place du Carrousel. And so there is a mall, I think, in here, because there's the inverted pyramid. So I think it's in here. So I don't think it's actually the Louvre proper where these works are going to be shown. Now, feel free, if you have extra information and I've got this wrong, feel free to share it with me. Because I'm not interested in anything other than getting this right. But I just think it's important that, you know, there's not a misdirection here as to what's occurring. Okay? So, anyway, here's the Carousel du Louvre. It's a shopping mall. Okay? There's McDonald's. So, anyway, so as I triangulate here, trying to figure this out, because again, I found it totally mystifying, unless it's all just as they say it is, but as I triangulate, it sounds to me like there's a conference center or some kind of thing in the Carousel du Louvre where these works will be shown, and actually has nothing to do. From what I understand, feel free to share information that you might have that says otherwise, and I will share it here. But from my understanding, this has nothing to do with the Louvre, other than sharing the word in the name of Carousel du Louvre. But anyway, if anybody has any other, you know, understanding that's, you know, more advanced than mine, feel free to share. Here is some of Claire Silver's work. Regardless, we've never looked at her work on this program, so let's look at some of her work here. This is on Super Rare, and she's only got 3 works, but they have sold for a heck of a lot of money, 52 ETH, which is $90,000. And then this one was a private sale to Shaman 4646. Growing up is hard to do. So this came out December 10th, 2022. So I don't know if there's music. Let's just see. So anyway, so here is what they're talking about here. And again, that other work that we showed from OpenSea is the work that I believe will be displayed. And here's Claire Silver's work on Object. So she's been doing AI for at least a year, which is a pretty long time, actually. And here is her editioned work, also on OpenSea. And yeah, this is going for 6 ETH, so doing quite well. So I think when I go back to the, so where does the William Morris, where does WME fit into this? I think they see like these views here, 400,000, they go, okay, that's kind of their bread and butter, is someone who's getting like massive views here. Like, if you just see 12,000, 24,000. So that's pretty high. Because remember, in an earlier episode, we were looking at Gagosian, and we don't need to go back there, but this is probably 10x what the top, 7 contemporary art galleries are getting, all put together. And then 10x, that's kind of what Claire Silver is getting in terms of view. So she has a lot of reach. Okay, so William Morris, this is my theory, because these stories kind of got conflated together, the Louvre and William Morris. These are separate stories. And from my speculation, and again, if anybody knows better, feel free to share. But they probably see her and go, okay, here's a very prominent person in the, Twitter Web3 NFT space. She has the reach, let's bring her on. Okay, that's what they're thinking. This person has a lot, this person is a celebrity of sorts, a digital celebrity, let's bring her on. It'll be an interesting, maybe it goes somewhere, right? So anyway, don't want to go too far into that. I've gone quite deep into that. Artist reporter here. Emphasis on reporter today. Let's continue on. So there's some really interesting work here. And I think we looked at this. This is also Claire Silver's work that's on, this is the 6 ETH, $10,000. So she sells for a heck of a lot of money. We love looking at physical renditions of work here. This is a new one though. A rendition of Stalomir's new work is I think a lenticular, what do they call it? 3D lenticular print, 40 by 40 centimeters. So the innovation continues here. And I have to say how impressed I am at, it's not easy taking super digital work like pixel art and doing something like that. Like, it's a really original, I think, response and way of creating a physical, representation of a digital work. So pretty interesting and pretty fun. And again, it's kind of like back to the Ed Marola thing that we were just discussing in the multi-chain. This to me is an example of going, multimedia. Okay, like, oh, you do pixel art? Figure out this is what digital artists had to do before like 3 years ago when we had NFTs, or 4 years ago, pick your date. Like, the biggest thing I would wonder to myself as a digital artist, as an artist that makes digital work, to paraphrase Lily Illo, is how do I make this physical? Because otherwise it was just a dead business model. Okay, like even you go to the Digital Art Museum here in Berlin, it's physical representations for the most part of digital works. It's stuff on paper, generally speaking. Some stuff on screens, but how do you sell that? So all to say, as an artist, in my opinion, as I have coffee here with you, I'd be saying you should definitely have a physical medium strategy, and that brings a whole other wave of collectors that might be interested in your work that maybe aren't blockchain people. And it's easy for them. They don't need to buy a wallet. Like, I have people who I sold prints to, and I was like, of digital works, say of the 8-Bit Nature series, and I was like, oh, well, I still had some. I was like, I can send you the NFT for free. It's selling for 3 Tezos. I'm happy to send you one. And they just didn't, they wanted one, but they just didn't bother because it was just too much confusion. So those people, but they were happy to give me money, a lot more money for the print. So that, so just to hammer home the point. Now here is the digital version of this lenticular print by Stalomir. So reserve of 0.75, Actung Internet Classic, and this is also super cool. So here is the work, and just kind of an interior here, kind of pixel art, again, with this kind of hologram, treatment. Interesting selling mechanics here too. First buyer of this NFT will get a limited and signed physical 3D lenticular print of this artwork. The first buyer. So interesting, right? And I keep coming back to this idea that these NFT marketplaces are weirdly good for selling physical art. I keep having this idea in my mind of to sell physical work through just make a special collection on object and just say, you pay for it here and then send me your Tezos and I'll send you the work in the mail. People have done this. We watched that like months ago and it's brilliant. Who was it? The Mickey Mouse guy, I can't remember who does his name escapes me right now. We need to catch up on what he's doing, but with the broken Mickey Mouse here, he sold like a painting or two just on the blockchain. Look at WOC, W-O-C, he's done the same thing. So anyways, it looks like there's a store here. Actung Inter, owner of this NFT, gets a 25% discount on lenticular prints in actunginter.net store. So maybe Stalomir is starting his own store. Interesting. And I thought this was just a great ad. Here's a 21st century ad for you. Spogelsmaskinen. And what is the teasers here? Something big is on its way. And people like me, maybe you as well, I go, oh, this looks exciting. Like, this is an ad for me. Like, okay, like now you have my attention and I kind of want to know more. So isn't that interesting? So Spogelsmaskinen has something in the pipeline. So we're looking at this up close. I realize now, the next day, this collaboration between JoyKid and Gogolitis. And so it has been released, edition of 20, and it looks wonderful, doesn't it? And it's just a true collaboration showing the spirit of both artists in one work, and you gotta love it. You have to love it. So I believe they're taking it's edition of 20, and I believe they're taking the top offers in today. I think like 24 hours later, and they announced it yesterday. So you could probably get in there for pretty cheap, actually. So something on the radar here for you. Now this should be moving. Let me try reloading this here. And try not to kill. Here we go. So this was an interesting work, courtesy of Twitter, glitching by Fabio Leo. Old analog TV glitching with butterflies and glitched beats, AI glitter art, Fabiolio. So Fabio Leo, and so she is selling that for 0.2 ETH. So I just thought it kind of original work. Let's see if there's music. Pretty cool. You know what I like about this? I like the youthfulness of this, and I don't know if Fabio Leo is youthful or young or not, but there's a youthful spirit to this work. It's just fun. I like that a lot. Françoise Gamma, EV walk. So another variation here on the walking figure, and I thought this one was quite effective and successful. Let's see if we can buy it. Available, it's only an edition of 15 for 3 Tezos. Might have to pick that up. There's still 7 left. So yeah, there's Haiti Rocket. It was actually on Haiti Rockets. I was looking at what he's a very interesting collector. So I was looking at what he's been collecting lately and came across this. And John Cates there, the guy who's been in Glitch forever and Not a Number and more. So anyway, cool crowd. Datura, new GIF here, playing with these kind of semi-abstract landscapes. Wide valleys glistening in the heat and cold shadows, a faint echo of reality, a memory that persists and won't go away. So pretty cool. As usual, let's check the prices on this. 10 Tezos and 9 to go. So, okay, so still available here and very cool. acid soup with some, I just thought these would go so well with Captain's Gift Shop. Here's a burger. I'm tempted to pick this up because I got the other one, the donut that you're going to see in a second. I thought pretty effective. Look at how great that looks. So again, kind of this modern pop is almost how this is, right? The vocabulary, the visual vocabulary of our everyday lives, and then applying modern techniques to that. I mean, there's your recipe for, you know, modern art, isn't it? Acid soup, very cool artist. Here's another one, donut. You know what else this goes well with is it Eitzko? If I'm pronouncing the name right, the Modern Furniture series. I mean, wouldn't that just go well in the next room? You know, so really, really nice work here. I picked this up. This was only 3 Tezos, 333. Edition of 11, so not huge editions here. So kind of a nice follow-up series in a weird sort of way. Beautiful glitching here to the Modern Furniture series. I mean, different artist, of course. And here's Dr. Version. Shout out to Dr. Version. And just some beautiful colors here, playing with the rectangular. And it looks like the rectangle is on an angle here, which is interesting variation. And just playing with colors here, almost a color field version. So pretty interesting. Dr. Version, edition of 1 at auction for 15. And is there a bidder yet? There are no bidders yet, so you could walk out with a 1 of 1 for fairly cheap if you get lucky here. Here's another one at auction for 15.03. So more cool glitch work. Again, not totally, like it's a little crooked on purpose, which makes it frankly more interesting, doesn't it? So interesting work, and these would go well with MCHX, you know, in the next room. We're creating our own Louvre over here, ladies and gentlemen. LB is going insane. Analog video art. So again, using a lot of physical work here. And this seemed to pair with another work that was minted next, which is Not in Control. So I think if I bought one, I'd have to buy the other. You know, again, I'm just seeing this in the museum of my mind, and these go on the same wall, frankly, and maybe those are the only 2 works on the wall, right? It feels like a diptych. Lost. So and Lost, they kind of go pretty well together. Here's a still, Espinoza, called Mechanical Meaning Matrix, and I thought this was a quite beautiful still. It's interesting. I mean, Eitzko, you know, talks about how his stills are like his sketchbook and how he likes making them cheap and accessible. So we see more stills, this time by Espinoza. Espinoza V2, edition of 10 for 5 Tezos. I assume that's on primary. Yeah, all available, none sold. Well, pretty good looking work, if you ask me. And here is Glitchtown Arcade. Shout out to Vito and D His Science and BGP. They have a few. This one really stood out to me. I thought this was a great looking work. And you know what's interesting about this is, remember the glitch ROM, you know, that glitch ROM technique or, you know, style of making art. You might not even notice it at first, that this is using, you know, glitched out Nintendo ROMs, but then you look on the side, and then maybe you look maybe in the background, and then you have this, you know, creature superimposed. I guess that's D His Science, if I'm pronouncing that right. Dehi Science alt. So pretty interesting. You know, when I talk about Nintendo Glitch ROM, we're just kind of scratching the surface of the experimentation. This is what I mean. Like, this is like really cool experimentation where you could literally just use it for the frame, you know, and that kind of creates its own just kind of context and everything. So super interesting. What do we have here? Oh, this beautiful work by Tokyo Love. So this was done, I believe, for 6529 for the meme card series, and also a free mint to my edition holders. Let me just show you. I don't think there's any volume. No. So anyways, just, yeah, protect the JPEGs at all costs. So maybe a hat tip, and there's 6529. So yeah, hat tip to 6529, courtesy of Tokyo Love. So pretty cool work, and yeah, just a cool artist. So anyway, just wanted to share that one. And look at Klaus. So remember in the comments, who was it, was saying that how cool that Klaus is selling on Foundation, kind of abstract and whatever. So this is Klaus's studio, from what I can tell. And there's even some volume here. That's impressive, right? You know, super impressive. This looks like a bunch of video mixers. And even like, I mean, if you make music, like all this kind of, would you call this outboard gear? I can't remember. And even like this old TV here, like this is like a mad scientist. Vertical monitor. So that's powerful. I mean, if your studio looks like that, you should definitely be showing it because it shows, okay. I mean, if people don't know anything about you, it shows, okay, this person's serious. Klaus apparently is a pretty serious person. RJ. RJ has a new series, so I'm always excited to see what RJ is working on. New screens. Just over halfway through this collection and the narrative is taking shape. The boundaries, the screen depicted in the art that depicts art itself, and the screen we look at this art on is blurring. Excited for where the next two pieces are going. And here are a couple of stills. Now, I brought up RJ's foundation. So this sold for 0.25 ETH to EV Builds. That was on March 1st, so I totally missed this whole series here. This might be going slow. Sometimes the GIFs go a little slow. Maybe that's just my computer. And again, inside his computer here, you see a print of Spring in Yugashima Izu. So anyway, I think we have, here are the others. So it looks like kind of a Japanese print theme in these works on the computer. We'll see if this loads up any better. I assume this moves. So yeah, sometimes I have internet issues here in Berlin. When I do the spaces, I make sure to do it on my phone. So we'll just see if it helps to reload. Maybe it's a still work. So just little debates I have with myself. Anyways, all very cool. And yeah, cool work by RJ as ever. So the collection is called New Screens. And you see here a reference to the Japanese, I think woodcut prints from way back when. And you see basically playing with a glitch where the art kind of blends with the external reality here. All within the context of an art piece, of course. A cool work posted on Twitter by Yuri J. And I don't remember seeing this one, but I just kind of loved the octopus playing the piano. And I mean, again, Yuri J, one of the words that comes to my mind when I see his work is courageous. And you might say, how is this courageous? Well, putting a drop shadow like this in the middle of a work and then keeping it, and then going with it and having some conviction, even these perspectives, to me, in my universe, these are actually pretty bold moves. So that's how I always think Yuri J's, there's courageousness in the boldness here. And, you know, trademark, just like he was using the mosaic pattern in Photoshop, you know, talk about courage. And here's a cool map on the wall. So just really, really original, interesting work. Here's one by Slave Angel. Let's see if it plays. See if, here we go. Kind of more screens within screens, right? Another octopus. Everything blends together. Wow, and this big vista here, and the massive pigeon who is vacuuming. So pretty interesting, isn't it? Did that sell? What's the deal here? Buy for $9.50, edition of 30. Let's see our one. So it's already on secondary. Let's just see what it sold for on primary. Just out of curiosity here, looks like $7.10. So pretty reasonable, and you can get it for basically a couple of Tezos more. Some really cool works by Kurt Hustle Collective. Let's see if the music plays. I sure hope so, because it's crucial. Here it is. So, yeah. Computer Learning with Percy. And I believe they make all their own music. That's why it's so good. This old 90s looks like a Pentium 4 compact computer. I mean, it goes for 2 minutes. So, all too hilarious. And here's another one. As I said on Twitter, Percy is an excellent teacher. Computer learning with Percy, Clicko's music. So pretty cheap. 3 Tezos and I think the other was 5. So I just love it. I just love it. Internet super server and a beautiful just kind of still, I guess. Computer learning with Percy, congratulations, you are now an internet super surfer. So again, playing off of this kind of 90s retro, I guess the 90s are in, and maybe that's why people love KHC's work so much when you play it in public. So very, very cool work. Couple by Haiti Rocket. I missed the Batman one. So that is exciting as heck. And here's the Joker. So again, Glitch ROM work, Nintendo Glitch ROM. Really, really, really cool. Love this one. Do more Batman works, and Ha 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 is the title. I was too late on this one, only an edition of 9. And of course, being sold by the Kurt Hustle Collective here for 1997. Also, Samari. So this looks like a play on Super Mario. So again, more glitches here. Love those clouds. Those look great. And another one, Only Rad SHIT. Title of the work is Only. Totally 420 GM. And we see some planets here. I love the colors on this one. Something about that kind of blue, white, and red and black. Very beautiful. This was an interesting work, wasn't it? Emilia NVIDIA. I don't know if you saw this. I found it on Twitter from, I want to say, Pamela Cirone's account. Maybe tweeted it out, or maybe it's a similar person, same artist. I'm not sure. But I thought this was a super interesting work. Only 350, edition of 10. Illustration by Emilia NVIDIA in Argentina, another Argentinian artist. There are a ton. It's like Turkey and Argentina, the 2 big hotspots. Speaking of Turkey, Belladonna by Sumi Reyusi, a new work on Super Rare, a reserve of half an ETH. And pretty interesting. It looks like a combination, if I had to guess. This gradient in the background, it looks like an AI gradient. This kind of rainbow, like to me, I almost see some of the rainbows we've seen in AI. That's what that looks like. But then it looks like here we just have almost drawing, could be even physical, but it's probably Procreate. Belladonna, and do we have any information? Digital painting. 5,800 by 7,000, so huge work. Nice piece by Sumi Reyusi. And of course, the show is not complete without Flora Marquez. Let me speed up a bit here. March 6th, 2023. So here's the latest from Flora Marquez. And just another awesome kind of Punch and Judy type. Self-knowledge does not hide in mirrors. It'll be interesting if she does this the whole year. And Daniel W., just a heads up that these 2 pieces are still up for grabs on Primary. Thinking about calling the series Best Buds. Links below, and thank you everyone for picking these up. These are characters I've been working on for years. Glad you're digging them. So that's pretty cool. And let me just see. So here are 2 of them. Oh, one of them. Here we go. Best Buds, back at it. Still available for 4 Tezos. Maybe it's like a first appearance, you know? And here's another really cool one. Cartomanzia Napolitana. Scissors are used to cut ties with the past and the things that no longer serve us well. So just kind of interesting symbolism here. And don't forget, Daniel W. does a lot of like alchemy and all sorts of, you know, mythology. So there's probably all sorts of, you know what these are? I was going to say there's all sorts of iconography going on, but do you recognize what these cards are? If you're Italian, you probably do. These are Scopa cards. Scopa cards. I haven't seen those in a very long time. Very, very cool. Scopa. And Martin Joe. So new work, pretty cool. Kind of hilarious. Some dubious iconography there. Shout out to Martin Joe. So anyway, really cool. Let There Be Light. I said let there be light, and there was light. Available for 5, edition of 10, and there's still 9 left, so there's a ton left of these. So go for it. Martin Joe, big shout out. It's always great to see you on the spaces. Come talk. We haven't heard from you for a month or so. Pig Meat is the artist here. These are just kind of interesting kind of collage type works. Here's some others. what is the name of that artist that I keep forgetting? He's a data artist, Raoul, I want to say Dausman or something like this. Kind of reminiscent of those. So just interesting collage here. Some guy playing like an accordion. This is on, I believe, exchange.art. So just kind of cool. Reserve of 8.2, Sol, which is $168. So interesting, Pygmy on Solana. And here's the works we were seeing by MCHX. It's part of actually an FX hash. MCHX actually messaged me to let me know this is part of an FX hash project. And as you see here, when you click on it, it changes. And let's see what happens when you reload. Yeah. So kind of an interactive series here created with JavaScript by the collaborative efforts of Jose Gasparian and MCHX. The series is inspired by the captivating beauty of water, a source of fascination for both artists, and it features 2 distinctive palettes, each created by one of the artists. So pretty cool. Continuing on as we wrap up here, look at this work by Tukes. So another super interesting AI artwork by Tukes. Really killing it. I remember when Tukes was like just kind of starting to break through with the AI, and now it's just like, it shows how quickly it can happen. And as Claire Silver says, you know, taste, you know, it's Coxbox says, you know, in the post-World Wide Web age, nationality means nothing and taste everything. And it's never been truer with AI art. Taste, it's just taste. It's like, this is good, this is bad, okay. And Tukes obviously has great taste. Look at how great this is. So interesting, so original, so unusual. 100% digital art created with artificial intelligence. Now, Tukes did mention that sometimes Tukes will combine different versions together. So who knows if that's what's going on here, but it looks fabulous. I'm sure this will go half an ETH as a reserve. Sky Goodman with a pretty cool work. Almost kind of has a camouflage feel to it, but not quite. And almost like a mountain. Feels like, anyways, it's more trainers here, more shoes, more lost shoes. And anyways, just super cool work. Yeah, and there's Adidas. Yeah, like Adidas. Yeah, bring on Sky Goodman on a massive poster there in at Weinmeister in Berlin Mitte at their big flagship store. I would love to see Sky Goodman in the window there. I could see them doing that, frankly. Lily Illo, a most brave man, work in progress. You gotta love it. Like, look at this work in progress of an AI artwork, and it looks fabulous. You know, if you finished here, it would work. So let's see what the finished version looks like. This is looking great. Very, very great. So anyways, cool work by Lily Illo. And just something I found, this was actually someone, I think I've met this person, I'm not sure. It's some Instagram account I follow, but it's kind of local Berlin people, I think, Bianca Kennedy and Swan Collective. And I just thought this was a brilliant work and kind of really fits with a lot of the work we do here. And it kind of looks like, you know, a physical painting, unless it's a digital physical painting, like a digital watercolor. But I just thought it was brilliant, you know, doing these, you know, these little tests you have to do to write comments and then turning that into an artwork. I think that is just super cool. I'm all over that. Again, kind of modern techniques, modern iconography, modern UIs, like it's the modern vocabulary, speaking the language of the modern day person. Bruno Miguel, we've looked at a lot of Bruno Miguel's work. Here's another one. So playing with these kind of, you know, sepia muted rugs here, and then putting some bright colors on top, painted on top. I believe it's acrylica, tinta a oleo, and oil, and spray on a carpet. So that is super cool. And here are some details. I imagine it's not easy, but maybe you put some sort of primer underneath, because you see the white bleeds through here. So he probably starts with putting like some gesso or something underneath, I'm guessing, because otherwise the paint would just be totally absorbed by the carpet. So pretty interesting. Die with the most likes with an installation type work. What would you call this? A mobile. It looks like a mobile courtesy of Die with the most likes. So that is pretty cool. See if there's a comment. Yeah, so just classic, you know, writing by Die with the most likes. Cool work. Nice physical work. Looks great, and more awesome physical work from Walk DM for Physical. Look how great that looks. Again, master of spray paint. Just love it, love it, love it. I don't know what the reference was on that one, but we will just have to wait until next time. I hope to see you on Twitter Spaces. Come give me some company, me and Runetoon. Until next time, take care. There we go. We're in business.